Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I want to talk about how none other than Jeff Bezos is forcing the AMC squeeze. So stay tuned and let's make some money. And now I want to dive straight in with the key information. So, you may remember from my video a few months ago that none other than Jeff Bezos was behind the seller boxing of AMC. And it now seems like he's moved on and found a much larger target, which is Netflix. Jeff Bezos and his posse of consultants over at Boston Consulting Group have moved on from AMC and from GameStop and are setting their sights on much larger targets like Netflix. Because obviously, why focus on a small company like AMC with $1.2 to $1.3 billion in revenue when Jeff Bezos can set his sights on the larger Netflix with $25 billion in revenue? Obviously, if Amazon can boost their revenue by an additional $25 billion, this is even better for Jeff Bezos, and therefore he's realised that he's fighting a losing battle trying to bankrupt AMC, and he's now moving on. This is obviously good for the AMC squeeze because if Jeff Bezos, the Boston Consulting Group and their posse of hedge fund managers move on from AMC and forget about it and set their sights on larger companies like Netflix, that is only going to be good for the squeeze. Obviously, if some of these larger hedge funds like Citadel end up cutting their losses and covering their AMC shorts, it will cause the AMC squeeze and cause other hedge funds like Melvin Capital to be liquidated, forcing them to cover their shorts. Obviously, some of these hedge funds like Citadel will survive. They'll close out their AMC short positions and move on to these bigger fries like Netflix to make even more money on their end. But obviously this will cause the AMC squeeze because when some of these hedge funds like Citadel close out of their AMC shorts, they will end up taking some of the smaller hedge funds like Melvin Capital with them and end up liquidating them. So let's talk about how Jeff Bezos is embroiled in this Boston Consulting Group mess and how they are now targeting Netflix. This post on Superstonk says this Netflix stuff is sus. Not the price action necessarily, but the company's recent business decisions have been way off the mark, to the point that it looks like sabotage. Now obviously we know that many of these consulting groups, like Boston Consulting Group, come in and provide their consultation, and these end up sabotaging the businesses by providing them with terrible business moves. This is exactly what BCG tried to do with GameStop, providing them with terrible business advice until Ryan Cohen stepped in and said no more. The post says Netflix just announced they will be adding commercials, in addition to cracking down on account sharing. He said, "I could not think of a faster way to drive away the customer base and kill the company, especially after hemorrhaging money on making shows and a precipitous drop in the stock price." The bear case for Netflix is strong. A bit too strong if you ask me. He said, "I bet my left nut that they have hired expensive consultants recently, like the Boston Consulting Group." He said, "I reckon if we turn an eye towards Netflix, we would see aggressive seller boxing or corporate sabotage in real time." So Ben Werman did some digging of his own and found a guy by the name of Ryan Mays, who is currently the Director of Editorial and Publishing Strategy and Operations at Netflix. He's currently worked at Netflix for over 3 years, holding multiple different positions in that time. Now, if you ignore the second half of the screen here for a moment, if you look at the positions he's actually held with Netflix, he's been promoted through his career insanely fast. He joined Netflix in 2018 as a manager. After a year, he was promoted to senior manager, and after another year was then promoted up to director. So in only 2 to 3 years, Ryan went from a mid-level managerial role all the way to the very tippy top shareholding director role. And obviously, if you tie it all together, Ryan did actually work over at BCG for 3 years before his appointment over at Netflix. So it looks like at some point 3 to 4 years ago, Netflix actually hired the Boston Consulting Group and Ryan ended up moving over. And it now looks like the BCG and Amazon master plan is now coming to fruition as these people that have been placed inside Netflix are now starting to crush the business. Ben also recently found this comment over on a YouTube video. It says Boston Consulting Group, BCG, has infected their, aka Netflix's, entire chain of command, destroying it from the inside out. It says for a little more context, project managers are hired from this company, aka BCG, and they're hired at whatever company they're assigned to for seemingly any position. They're trained up from an associate position at BCG and they quit or leave BCG and work their way into another company, or aka they're placed directly into a target. As consultants, they're trained to work off of their value creation matrix, which does basically nothing. The company begins making bad decisions, each one worse than the last. They take over the board of directors and vote on even more company-destroying decisions. This group is a literal domestic financial terrorist cell. They've been killing groups that compete with Amazon. Netflix is the latest as they compete directly with Amazon Prime. This company is self-destructing as a result of corporate greed and an attempt to get rid of anything people enjoy. They're currently involved in a lawsuit with GameStop, another company they attempted to destroy. Keyword, attempted. Moomoo has also just increased their offer of free shares up to 6 free shares, valued up to $3,500 each. That's a total of up to $21,000 in free shares just for signing up with Moomoo using the link in the description below and making your first deposit. Moomoo and Futu have also officially announced that Futu does not accept payment for order flow, and therefore you don't have to worry about your trades going through sketchy dark pools or being given to Citadel. Moomoo also recently won the award for being the best trading platform at the FinTech Breakthrough Awards. Moomoo is very easy to use, it's incredibly customizable, and it will help you to trade like a pro. Moomoo has tons of technical indicators and advanced charting tools. They publish daily short selling data, position cost distribution, and much, much more. So guys, be sure to sign up to Moomoo using the link in the description below to get up to $21,000 in free shares. And it's also not just Ryan who moved over from BCG into Netflix. You've also got Katie, who used to work at BCG for 5 years and 11 months and is now in charge of content strategy and analysis. You've also got Ankit, who used to work at BCG for 2 years and 8 months and is now an associate of strategy planning and analysis over at Netflix as well. Furthermore, you've also got Jay, who used to work at BCG for around 2.5 years and has now moved over to Netflix, who is also a director of content strategy and analysis. So it looks like there's now 3 to 4 employees who have moved directly from BCG over into the content strategy and analysis department, all the way up the chain, ranging from associate all the way up to director. Now you may say, okay Tom, it looks like Netflix are just another company in a long line of companies being destroyed by the Boston Consulting Group, but how exactly does Amazon and Jeff Bezos get involved? Now if you look here, BCG actually have a partnership directly with Amazon Web Service. Boston Consulting Group has only 38 partners and AWS is one of them. Considering BCG have a direct partnership with Amazon and Amazon Web Service, it benefits Boston Consulting Group directly if Amazon make more money. And the Boston Consulting Group have also written many convincing articles about why Amazon is the best company in the entire world. This article is titled "How Consumer Packaged Goods Companies Win Working with Amazon." This article basically convinces any consumer packaged good company to sell their products directly on Amazon, not to use other competitors and not to start their own store, but to instead sell through Amazon. Now, it also wouldn't surprise me if there's any more correlations and direct relationships between Jeff Bezos, Amazon, and the Boston Consulting Group. And therefore, not only is Jeff Bezos directly behind the attempt to sell a box AMC, but has now moved away from AMC and moved on, and is now trying to sell a box much larger companies like Netflix. And obviously this is good for the AMC squeeze, because if these large hedge fund managers, these consultants, and Jeff Bezos himself are forgetting about AMC, it leaves them much more vulnerable to an AMC squeeze. And obviously if some of these shorts start cutting their losses on AMC to target Netflix instead, they will end up covering their short positions, pushing the price of AMC up, causing the AMC squeeze. And now I also wanted to quickly talk about Twitter changing their mind and re-examining the bid from Elon Musk. Unusual Whales tweeted saying, breaking, Twitter re-examines Elon Musk's bid and may be more receptive to a deal, as per the Wall Street Journal. And he followed up by saying Twitter is reportedly facing increasing shareholder pressure to negotiate with Elon Musk in his takeover bid. Obviously the lawyers and the board of directors have realised just how screwed they will be if they outright decline the Elon Musk bid without considering the shareholder requirements. And Reuters has also reported in an exclusive that Twitter is set to actually accept Elon Musk's $43 billion offer. It says Twitter is poised to agree a sale to Elon Musk for around $43 billion in cash, the price the chief exec of Tesla has called his best and final offer for the social media company. Twitter may announce the 54 per share deal later on Monday, aka today, once its board has met to recommend the transaction to Twitter shareholders. Musk has said Twitter needs to be taken private to grow and to become a genuine platform for free speech. And it says the deal would come just 4 days after Musk unveiled a financing package to back the acquisition. This led Twitter's board to take the deal more seriously and many shareholders to ask the company not to let the opportunity for a deal to slip away. I personally think this is a brilliant move, and I do hope Twitter accept the bid for Elon Musk to buy the company. Obviously this is good because it promotes more and more free speech and less censorship. And we've also seen the Melvin Capital founder, Gabe Plotkin, writing in a letter obtained by the New York Post where he said to investors regarding January 2021, he said, "I'm sorry, I got this one wrong. I made a mistake and I apologise." And importantly, Unusual Whales followed up by saying they are likely closing down the fund, having lost nearly 50% since 2021. The letter says to our fellow partners, "I'm sorry, I got this one wrong, I made a mistake, and I apologise." He said, as we noted in our letter last week, we tried to balance several objectives when determining a path forward. Our focus was on getting back to a size at which we could again generate industry-leading returns for our investors while retaining the team we've built for over a decade. And he said, in hindsight and despite our intentions, we recognise now that we focused on future returns and team continuity without sufficient consideration of your investment losses. He said, we appreciate how difficult January 2021 was for all of you and our pain that we've not acknowledged this enough. And he says he was initially tone deaf and he's going to rethink his forward plans over the next few weeks. I do think Melvin Capital will likely end up closing the fund, covering their short positions, selling off their long positions, and returning investors' money. I don't think Melvin Capital will be opening a new fund and charging investors fees all over again, simply because that's not what the investors actually want. And Bill Pulte was obviously very happy with this decision and with these comments, as he's tweeted a photo of an ape riding a rocket to the moon. Obviously, Bill Pulte has a very large social media following and has been tweeting a lot about GameStop over the last few weeks. He's been growing and adding to his GameStop position recently as well, and it's obviously for the ape movement. I personally think this is definitely a push in the right direction, especially if Melvin Capital do decide to close their fund after being down more than 50% since 2021. And guys, be sure to let me know down in the comments below what you think about Jeff Bezos forcing the AMC squeeze. And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some of my others. Alternatively, subscribe to the channel and ding that notification bell, because that way you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers.